So, I want Saida to reach out with two hands to grab the horn, and as she does, she says to the Deep One priestess, "Is there anything I'm supposed to know about this?" She's not trying to be insulting.
She kind of cocks her head to the side. Uh, um, but she doesn't respond. She seems to be waiting. Um, there's like maybe 10, 12 seconds passed. She seems to maybe wait for you to say something else. And says, "You will find what we do not know. We found this place drawn by it, but have not been able to use what we found here."
Um, she kind of feels how heavy it is.
Yeah.
I just don't want to break it. I'm looking to see if I have anything that. No, I don't. Um, I mean, I've got my lay on hands, and that worked before. Saida thinks to herself. Can I try lay on hands with my one remaining point on it to see if anything happens?
Sure. Absolutely. As you know, sort of open that conduit within yourself, you reach forward to touch it, allowing that divine radiance to flow through and out your hand. You feel something like a static electricity shock when you touch it. Everyone else sees a flash of bright golden and aquamarine light. You all are temporarily blinded. You hear the priestess hiss. Um, Zim, you can kind of see out of the corner of your eye, her sort of turning away from this incredibly bright light. Um, Zim, you recognize it as being very bright, but it doesn't hurt your eyes. You can see it. You can see just fine in it. Um, and you and Saida, well, actually, Saida, you are suddenly gone from this place entirely. You are seeing uh, a massive field of rolling green grass, clusters of undescribably bright and strangely petaled flowers, a sky that is calm and blue. You can see the sun, and you can see people, you think, but they're not people that you recognize. They are large, 10, 11 foot tall, you think, judging by some of the plants and things that you recognize around them. They have strange sort of kilts and almost like toga, sort of like sash like and wraps. They, regardless of, they seem to all, you can't tell gender or sex among them, not by clothes and not by other aspects of appearance. They have a fine silvery or golden fur on their skin. They have very large, bright golden eyes. They do have ears that are pointed at the top, but they're also heavy lobed like dwarves and halflings. They have narrow chins but wider upper jaw. They almost summon they almost look like, as they turn in the sun, some of them seeming to work. For a moment, it's hard to tell what they're doing because they're so strange looking to you. They seem incredibly civilized, and very playful with whatever they're doing. Um, but as they turn and move, each time they do, it sort of recasts their features, and they look almost like elves at one point. They look, but thick muscled. So at another point, they look kind of like dwarves, or very strong humans. There's a like um, certain look they get when they're being playful that really reminds you of that twinkle that halflings get in their eye.
Hmm.
There's something about their brow, their ears, and their noses that kind of reminds you of gnomes. But there's other things too that you don't recognize, features that don't seem familiar to you at all. Um, but they work and they play. They seems there's a temple in the background. Many of them are working in a field, but it doesn't seem crops. It seems that they are. You see them like turning old bits of like rotted stone out of the ground. You get the feeling that they're restoring this huge meadow, uh, like after some ancient cataclysm or battle or something. Restoring it just to the natural order. But you can see this what it looks like a city or something like the fortress of Evisar, but massive, off in the far distance, dwarfed only by mountains far beyond them. But in front of that, there is a massive temple. It seems to be carved of crystalline pillars, posts, cornices, capstones. Just all of it seeming to be carved of that sort of milky white crystal. It glows within with flickering flame, just like the Lear weapons. And suddenly time seems to be blurring faster. You see debates taking place in some of these places. You see arguments begin to break out some of these people. You see a people unused to violence, clutching their fists in anger, gathering stones or tree branches. You see time blurring, and you see these people teaching themselves the arts of war and the crafting of weapons. Over all of this, you see these even larger figures, strange, archetypical figures. A great smith, a great sorceress, some sort of heavily armored battle lord, another that seems the consummate huntress. They seem like gods, but not. They seem like almost like huge humanoids. But there's a different order of being, and you see them go from like interacting with these beings to the beings, some of them hunting them. You see the sky split with a great flash of white light. You see the flames within this crystal palace fail. Your vision moves outward across a landscape that begins to flood as seas, as storms scour over the landscape, and the seas rise up from their beds. The sky is gone, and you see the people. You're not sure where these original people are. You can see a few of them, but now you're seeing humans and dwarves and elves and halflings all kind of living together, working together, trying to survive, trying to keep the order of their history, their knowledge, their crafts together, as like the environment keeps getting more and more mad. You see these people, like live through what seems like thousands of years of cataclysm. Each year or 100 years a new upheaval, and all through it you see dotted here and there the slug white faces of the Manai and the proud snarling maws of the Lear. You see them fighting each other. You see the Lear working with the humans and elves and halflings. Something happens and they're dispersed. You see a veil of time sort of drawn over everything, and everyone seeming to forget. But that cataclysm continues, moving sort of deeper and deeper into the bones of the earth, and into the sort of nether places of the very air itself. You see what you think. You see this point. You see the people coming back together in ignorance. You see a great light going out over the land, as a clan of dwarves land on the Firma. You see a greater flash as you and Zim touch a pillar on the Firma. And you can see events begin to swirl. You can see some of these great, massive beings, these archetypical beings. You see some of these sleeping, almost Yeti-like figures, these furred creatures, this first species that you saw. You see some of them waking from long rests. You see the people, fighting with the Lear and Manai, but you also see past that into the future. You see that upheavals that cataclysmic energy still working its way through the very space and bones of the earth. You see in the future the earth beginning to crack apart, strange, wavering, undulant mists of purple flame rising up from within. And you see a group of people, and their faces are vague. They seem to shift back and forth. Sometimes one of them is a leer, sometimes it's an elf, sometimes it's a dwarf, sometimes it's a human. And you start seeing flickering visions, different versions of these people. And they start to look kind of like archetypes themselves, but not these great, powerful spirits. But whoever they are, they move out across the land, and they continue to touch these places that send this pulse out across the world, that keep drawing people sort of like them to it. You can see in several universes or timelines, many of these people die. Sometimes they all die. In some of them, many, like other people, will sort of pick up that that goal, that effort, and begin like moving out into the world. In some worlds, they seem to know what they're doing. In other worlds, they seem to be stumbling through it. But in any case, what your takeaway is this is a possibility for this world. You're certain that this world is going to fall apart, and the only thing that's going to stop it is the right people coming together and moving out and touching these other places. And you almost can see them like a needle with a strange silvery purple thread behind them, almost like stitching pieces of the land together. Some things will be lost, but something new might be formed. And you know that perhaps for this world, for the story of this world, the only thing that really matters is that that possibility be maintained. That somebody will be able to step into that place and do that thing.